Act para sa fiscal year 2026. Ito'y nakasentro sa kapakanan ng mamamayang Pilipino bilang pangunahing puwersa ng kaunlaran sa bansa. Ang paglagda sa 6.793 trillion pesos national budget ay patunay sa kolektibong tugon ng ehekutibo at lehislatibo upang maiangat ang pamumuhay ng taumbayan sa larangan ng edukasyon, kalusugan, agrikultura, serbisyong panlipunan at pagpapatatag sa ugnayan ng national at local government at dedikasyon na isulong ang kapakanan ng mga kasundaluhan at iba pang uniformed personnel. Sa ilalim ng administrasyon ni Pangulong Marcos Jr., makakatiyak ang mamamayang Pilipino na ang 2026 budget ay tapat, masinop at tumutugon sa pangangailangan ng lahat. Bago nito, ipinapakita rin sa pagpasa ng 2026 national budget ang pagsulong ng transparency sa budgeting. Dahil sa kauna-unahang pagkakataon at sa pagnanais ni Pangulong Marcos Jr., naka-livestream ang proceeding ng Bicameral Conference Committee upang maitaas ang tiwala at kumpiyansa ng publiko at mapalakas ang pananagutan sa paggastos ng pondo ng bayan. Makakaasa po ang taumbayan na sa ilalim ng liderato ni Pangulong Marcos Jr., ang pondo ng bayan ay para sa bayan. Magagamit ito ng tama at mailalaan para sa kapakanan ng bawat Pilipino saan mang panig ng mundo. Upang talakayin ng mas malalim ang 2026 national budget, makakasama natin ngayon si Executive Secretary Ralph Recto at Acting Budget Secretary Rolando Toledo. Makakasama rin natin ang ilan sa economic team ni Pangulong Marcos Jr., sina Finance Secretary Frederick Go at DepDef Secretary Arsenio Balisacan. Magandang umaga po mga kalihim. Secretary Ralph.
Thank you.
Yes.
Maraming salamat. Yusek Claire. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. We opened the year with so much hope brought about by the newly signed General Appropriations Act of 2026 na hindi lang basta-basta pinirmahan, kung hindi isinuri, inupuan, at pinag-aralan ng mabuti. And so we thank our colleagues in Congress and the Office of the President and the DBM for their sleepless nights during the break, helping the President comb through every line, every provision of the budget. Because this is what the Filipino people deserve, a budget that is rigorously reviewed and not rushed. I also commend Congress for the meaningful reforms it pursued to strengthen transparency and accountability in the budget process. Unti-unti nating ibinalik ang proseso ng budget sa dapat itong anyo, bukas at tapat sa publiko. We also thank our lawmakers for the close, constructive work they did with the executive to deliver a budget that puts the Filipino people at the center of growth. Ito ang budget natin, budget ng bawat Pilipino. For this budget represents an unprecedented investment in the Filipino people. Education, healthcare, agriculture, and social services are at their highest levels in history. It is investing where it matters most, in the classrooms, in the health centers, in the farms, in our communities, and in the future of Filipinos. It also strengthens national-local cooperation so that development reaches every province, every city, every municipality, every barangay. At pinagtibay rin nito ang ating pangako sa kapakanan ng ating mga kawal, pulis at uniformadong hanay na araw-araw naglilingkod at nagbubuwis ng kanilang buhay para sa bayan. Yet the signing of this budget is only the beginning. Its true test is in its implementation. At dito na papasok ang ehekutibo. Kaya ang pangako namin ay simple. Sisiguraduhin naming totoong makikinabang ang taong bayan dito. We built a budget that is clean, disciplined, and responsive. And we will implement it with integrity, constant vigilance, and sense of urgency. Hihigpitan natin ang pagpapatupad nito. We will make sure that what is written in law will be built on the ground, visible, trackable, and valuable to the people. Through this budget, we want our people to see, not just hear, that this government is careful with their hard-earned money, serious with its promises, and faithful to its duty. Ito po ang simula ng isang taon na mas maayos at mas makatarungang paggamit ng pondo ng taong bayan. At isang bagong taon na may mas maraming konkretong dahilan upang maniwala sa bagong Pilipinas na sama-sama nating itinataguyod. Ulit, maraming salamat po. Happy New Year sa inyong lahat.
Bago po tayo tumanggap ng katanungan, Secretary Toledo, meron po ba kayong paunahing pananalita o tatanggap na po tayo ng questions?
Siguro enough na yung ni Secretary Recto opening remarks niya, so probably we can proceed now with the Q&A.
Okay, thank you po. Okay, ang unang katanungan ay magagaling kay Katrina Domingo, ABS-CBN.
Secretaries, good morning. Happy New Year. Ano-ano po yung exact items that were vetoed by the President that constitute the 92.5 billion pesos that was removed from unprogrammed appropriations?
There are, I'll take this question. There are roughly 10 items in the unprogrammed fund. Ang tinanggal yung budgetary support to GOCCs, ang halaga niyan roughly 6,895 million. Yung fiscal support sa CARS program na 4.320 billion. Insurance for government assets na 2 billion. Prior years LGU shares na 14 million. RACE program, 250,000. GOP counterpart sa foreign assisted projects sa 35 billion 769 million. Payments of PS requirements na 43 billion 245 million na nakapaloob na sa iba't ibang ehensya ng pamahalaan. At natanggal na rin naman, I think during yung sagip, wala na yung 80 billion na sagip. Wala na rin yung Nampeday property na 210 million. Public health emergency benefits na 6.7 billion. Marawi siege victims compensation under the NEP then was 2 billion. Ang natira na lang ay support, tatlong item na lang ang natira. Support to foreign assisted projects, 97 billion 305 million. Revised AFP modernization program na 50 billion. At risk management program na 3.6 billion. So ito yung natira sa unprogrammed fund, roughly 150 billion 905 million na more or less katumbas ng unprogrammed fund noong 2019.
Sir, follow-up question. Sir, the President promised the judicious spending of taxpayers' money under the 2026 national budget. What is the administration doing to police, if not totally temper, the grant of excessive bonuses, either to lawmakers, to cabinet secretaries, or anyone in government in general? Especially these were recently flagged by several lawmakers in recent weeks.
Well, in the executive branch, wala naman excessive bonuses to begin with, no? Pangalawa, kung ang tinutukoy po ninyo ay yung budget ng Kongreso, nung nakaraang taon, ang budget ng Kongreso, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, ay 50 billion. 50 billion and correct. In 2025 GAE, ang Kongreso ay may budget ng 50 billion. Sa taong 2026, ang budget ng Kongreso ay 38.6 billion. So nabawasan ng roughly 12 billion yung budget ng Kongreso in 2026 compared to 2025.
Sorry, sir. Anong items po yung natanggal under nung 12 billion that was removed from Congress? This is both for the House and the Senate, right?
That is correct. For the House and the Senate and Commission on Appointments and Senate Electoral Tribunal. I don't have the details with me, but maybe the DBM would have them.
Yes, Sec. If I may, as far as the NEP of the Senate and the rest of the Congress, just to give you details, okay, for Senate, it's 7.5 in the NEP, and it increased to 8.5 billion. And then for Senate Electoral Tribunal, 329, and it became 389 million. Now, for the Commission on Appointments, it's 1.089 million, billion rather to 1.680 billion. Then House of Representatives, that is 17.2 billion to 27.7, and the HO or Electoral Tribunal 255, the same amount as far as the GA is concerned. So NEP level.
Okay, thank you. Follow up? Yes, Ivan.
Good morning, Secretary, sir. Sinabi po ng Pangulo, hindi hahayaan ng administrasyon na gawing backdoor for discretionary spending on unprogrammed appropriations. There will be strict guidelines, clearly defined triggers bago ho ma-release. What are we going to do differently this year? Kasi I suppose these are existing guidelines already. Those that existed the year before. Paano ho natin ito exactly gagawin?
Well, unang-una, nabanggit ko nga kanina na nung nakaraan, meron yung SAGIP, Infrastructure and Social Programs, lump sum na mahigit 80.8 billion. Wala na ngayon yan. So of the 10 items or more in the unprogrammed, ang natira 3 na lang. So what are the 3 items? Again, revised AFP modernization program na 50 billion. Yung risk management program na 3.6. Ito ay patungkol sa mga contingent liability natin sa PPP. At yung support to foreign assisted projects na 97 billion. Ang pagkaintindi ko dito sa support to foreign assisted projects, ang loan proceeds, karamihan dito ay yung mga that did not make the cut nung ginawa ang budget for 2026 na in the pipeline. So hindi napasama sa program yan dahil wala pang maliwanag, kaya nasa unprogram yan. So ito yung mga that did not make the cut nung ginagawa ng DBM yung budget for 2026.
Thank you, Ivan. The next question will be coming from Tristan Nodalo, Newswatch Plus.
Hi, Secretaries. Good morning po.
Morning.
Sabi po ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos kanina rin sa speech niya na he will not allow political intervention sa implementation po or sa rollout ng social services, lalo na yung sa mga programa ng gobyerno. So how exactly is this administration plan to execute? Because isa po sa mga concern, for example, yung sa medical assistance, nagiging patronage politics din po dahil yung mga existence ng guarantee letters coming from politicians. So ano po yung, what will we do differently this time?
Kung hindi ako nagkakamali, there is a special provision in the budget or a general provision in the budget na bawal yung mga politiko during the actual disbursement or the actual pamimigay nito sa mga kababayan natin. So susundan natin yung guidelines na yan under the General Appropriations Act of 2026. Wala yan dati. So ngayon nandiyan na yan, susundan natin yung guidelines na yan.
And one follow-up na lang po. Bago po mapirmahan yung budget, marami pong naglabas ang pahayag din mula sa mga lawmaker na hindi pumirma sa or hindi pumabor sa budget because sabi po nila iba't ibang variations daw po ng pork barrel pa rin sa 2026 budget. May sabi po ni Senator Amy, meron daw pong giniling pork itong budget na to or soft pork na sinasabi nila. Sa pag-aaral, sa pagre-review ng Malacañang, ano pong masasabi nyo? Pork barrel free po ba itong 2026 budget?
Yes, sa tingin namin, pork barrel free. Dahil hindi naman pwede makialam ang legislator pagdating ng executing the budget at purely executive function na yan pagdating ng execution of the budget. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tristan. Next question will be from Clay Pardilla. Okay, let's go to Chloe Hufana.
Good morning po. I guess to DBM or Secretary Recto. With the 2026 budget reportedly cutting back on flood control project allocations, how does the administration plan to achieve the DBCC's 6 to 7% growth forecast through 2028? And which sectors will likely drive growth and what measures are in place to mitigate potential headwinds given these fiscal adjustments?
Maybe with the
Sec RC.
RC.
Well, for the budget of 2026, that is expected to support a growth of 5 to 6%, and next year that will be from 5.5 to 6.5, and then 6 to 7 in 2028. Now, the last couple of years, it has been consumption spending that has driven growth, accounting for nearly 3/4 of the GDP. No, that's on the demand side, and if you look at the supply side of the economy, that's services. And in the sa consumption, that's likely going to be still supported by employment, growth in employment, and remittances. No, but we also expect the rebound of consumer confidence this year. No, because as you have seen in the data, in the third quarter, consumption spending it slowed down sharply from over 5% to just 4.1% in the third quarter because of that reduction in the confidence of our consuming public. That we expect to rebound this year as inflation continues to be low. For the entire 2025, inflation has been down to 1.7%, and that is expected to continue this year. We're actually targeting just 2 to 4% inflation but I think we'll achieve less than that. And also interest rates have been coming down, and we have been reading the papers with BSP saying that they will continue to follow that rate reduction. And globally, the pessimism in the trade and investment regime of many countries was not as bad as we thought it was last year, with the sharp increases in tariffs initially by the U.S. and so I think that there are favorable forces moving that we are seeing moving forward, and so we do expect that the broad economy will grow sufficiently strong, especially toward the second half, I think, of the year. We probably will still see some residual effects of the events last year in the first half of the year.
Follow up lang po. Magre-revise po ba tayo ng growth targets?
Well, we have the last one we have done, but we have not yet released it's not been officially released yet. But we have done some work and some discussions and decisions last December. Actually, that's the DBCC, and the numbers that I mentioned, the GDP numbers, reflect those decisions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chloe. Evelyn Quiroz, Filipino Mirror.
Good morning. Kay Secretary Toledo po, yung clarification lang po sa question kanina na nabanggit po ni Pangulo yung we will not allow unprogrammed appropriations to be misused. Sinabi po na i-release lang po ito upon validation. Pwede pong malaman sino pong magva-validate? May committee po ba dito?
Okay. So yung pag-validate yan, of course, aside from that validation, we need to, of course, kailangan natin ma-meet yung requirements or even triggers. One is when we have excess revenue, that's the time that we can also unlock the program appropriations. At the same time, kung mayroon na tayong perfected loan para sa ating mga foreign-assisted projects. So, mean to say, kung foreign-assisted project yan, that's already validated by the ICC. It passed through the process of evaluation, at the same time, approval. So, I guess with that, the foreign-assisted project, no need to validate. But as to the ating mga releases other than that, we need to look at, of course, yung process natin as to the yung aming ginagamit din sa pag-evaluate ng ating budget when we prepared the budget. And that is yung ating, okay, one is it should be aligned with the plan of the national government. Second, it should have ready for implementation, of course. And of course, yung ating prioritization as far as the agency is concerned. So those are just some of the validation that we need to look at when we release the unprogrammed appropriations.
Sir, follow-up lang po. So, kasi po, kaya ko po ito natanong dahil yung mga flood control issue ng nakaraan, nandiyan naman din po kayo sa opisina na yan. So, ang sinasabi niyo po ba, maiiwasan na itong nangyari nung nakaraan sa panahon ng dating kalihim ng DBM?
Definitely, mawawala as mentioned by Secretary Recto, actually wala na rin yung pagkukuhanan natin ng mga ganyang pondo. And very limited na lang, 3 na nga lang eh. So mean to say, hindi na mangyayari yung nangyari ng nakaraang taon o nakaraang mga unprogrammed appropriations natin. So definitely that will not happen already because as mentioned ba, 3 na lang yung prioritization natin na kailangan. Which is very strict na yung ating pag-i-evaluate niyan given, of course, yung limited fiscal space that is available to us.
Thank you po.
Thank you, Jean.
Yusek, pwede pang kay Secretary
Go
Go. Isa
ahead
lang
po,
po.
Ma'am Evelyn, yes.
Secretary, nabasa ko po yung nabanggit ng Pangulo na this budget further strengthens the PhilHealth with nearly 129 billion, including the 60 billion directed to be restored yung sa PhilHealth. Pwede po bang malaman kung kailan naman po maibabalik yung PDIC fund amounting to 107 billion? Thank you po.
Ang pagkaintindi ko, yung utos ng Supreme Court ay para sa PhilHealth lang at wala sa PDIC. At yung sa PhilHealth naman, nakapaloob na sa 2026 budget as directed by the President last September pa lang. At yun nga, may decision ng Supreme Court na ilagay sa 2026 budget.
I think I'll just add one more. The dispositive portion of the Supreme Court decision only talks about PhilHealth.
Thank you po, Sec.
Yes, thank you, Evelyn. Ms. Jean Mangalus of philstar.com.
Good morning. Question to Secretary Toledo. Representative Tino accused the Congress of moving 43 billion pesos of mandatory personal benefits into the UA. Can we get a clarification from the DBM about this?
Okay. Yung ating kasi unprogrammed appropriations which actually total na mention kanina ni Secretary Recto, na natin niya ibig sabihin na veto ng presidente as far as the personal services requirements. Okay? So, yung nilagay kasi some of those program already under unprogrammed appropriations ay nilagay na natin sa budget ng ahensya, which is transferring lang from the unprogrammed appropriations at nilagay na natin sa program. One of which is yung ating mga daily subsistence allowance na nilagay na natin siya doon sa ahensya ng gobyerno. Rather than put it in the NPBF, so inilagay na natin doon sa ahensya mismo. So, yon. Actually, ang nakalagay po doon is yung para sa benefits 1.02 billion na nilaan po sa NPBF ay benefits para sa karagdagang doktor, nurse at ibang allied medical positions ng mga hospitals, treatment and rehabilitation centers na nasa ilalim na po ng Department of Health. Okay. Ang eksaktong bilang po ng posisyon ng nagagawin ay tutukuyin pa ng DOH na isubmit sa DBM para i-review at evaluate yung upang sagutin po ay consistent po sa kasalukuyang staffing ng ating mga hospital. So, yung PGF naman po, ang programa pong nandyan mismo ay para doon sa ating supposed to be pension and gratuity funds ng ating mga MUP. Okay? So, nandun na rin naman po sa programa, sa ahensya, doon sa ating mga ahensya. Like for example, in the Department of DILG and the DND.
So, Bala, it wasn't removed, it wasn't put into the UA, na-distribute lang siya to the appropriate agency.
No, yes, you're right. It was already distributed and Those are mandatory kasi yan. Kailangan natin bayaran yan. Kasi kundi, baka magwala sila sa... So, because those are already earned already as their benefits. So that should be put in the proper place, which is already programmed in the specific agency budget.
Sa madaling salita, if I may, sa madaling salita, enough yung PS budget requirements under the program fund.
Oh, isa pang question. So we heard from the president himself that political involvement is not allowed. So can we ask what happened to alleged soft pork and patron political programs like the MAIFIP and the AIX, which have been accused of being used for patron politics?
Well, like I said earlier, merong general provision in the budget na pinagbabawal ang politiko to be present during the distribution of this ayuda, halimbawa. Susundan natin kung ano yung nakapaloob sa General Appropriations Act. Yun na rin yung guidelines natin.
Pero what would this enforcement look like? May penalties po ba yung mga politiko na sasama sa mga programs na ganito?
We will look into that. But like I said, there is already a general provision. I think it was also quoted, if I'm not mistaken. Susundan natin yung guidelines na yan.
Thank you, Jean. Follow-up question from Ivan Mayrina.
But Secretary Recto, sir, hindi naman ho kailangan ng physical presence ng politiko para mag-intervene sa mga ayuda, if I may use that word. Hindi ho ba? So paano ho kaya mas matitiyak na hindi nga nakikialam itong mga politiko? Since nandyan pa rin po yung mga MAIFIP and other...
Ang masasabi ko lang dyan ay meron batas na may general provision under the General Appropriations Act na susundan natin.
Something that wasn't there previously?
Hindi tayo dadagdag sa batas, hindi rin tayo babawas kung ano man ang nakalagay sa batas.
Eden Santos.
Good afternoon po, ES Recto or DVM Secretary Toledo po. Linawin lang po natin, may budget pa rin po ba sa flood control project for this year? Kung meron po magkano, if there is none, paano po ang gagawin ng Pangulo para po matugunan yung mga malawakang pagbaha na kumitil sa buhay ng ating mga kababayan at sumira po sa mga ari-arian, gayon din sa agrikultura at sa infrastruktura?
Mayroon pa rin tayong budget for flood control but specific for the foreign assisted project only. That's around 15.7 billion. So, because meron na tayong mga kontrata na dapat sundin at dapat ma-implement yung project according to the plan as far as the project is concerned.
Ano pong mga particular na mga flood control projects itong mga to?
Right now, I don't have, pero we can, anyway, we'll publish naman na yung ating GAA so you can browse it to our GAA. What are those flood control project under the foreign assisted project? So right now, I don't have a copy of that specific project for flood control.
Kahit silang po, wala po kayong natatandaan.
Okay. This, yung, ano, ano yun? Resilience, yeah. Actually, that is for the resilience project of the DPWH. IPIF, yes. Ano
Okay.
yun? I think that is through the JICA loan natin. Yes.
Thank you very much. Yes, Letre, yes.
Related pa rin po dun sa alleged pork, dun po sa 32 billion na Farm to Market Road na project, sino pong nag-identify ng mga popondang proyekto?
Ang pagkaintindi ko dyan ay Department of Agriculture yan. Ang nagbigay ng listahan ng farm to market roads.
Yung mga congressman po, wala silang...
Wala akong alam dahil nung napanood ko yung BICAM, doon pinasok sa BICAM to, nagkaroon pa nga ng sagutan kung matatandaan natin sa PICC. So ito yung plano ng DA na binigay sa Kongreso for the farm to market roads.
Isa pa po, binanggit ni Senator Amy sumulpot lang din daw ito sa BICAM, yung Presidential Assistance to Farmers. Isang uri rin daw po ito ng ayuda. Pwede pong malaman ano po itong pondong ito?
Ang pagkaintindi ko dyan ay nakapaloob na yan in the General Appropriation or in the GAB version. If I'm not mistaken, meron ng roughly 10 billion ata yung kung di ako nagkakamali. Yan ay assistance sa farmers dahil minsan ang presyo ng bigas or ang presyo ng palay ay 12 pesos per kilo. I think we want to maintain the farm gate prices roughly at 18 pesos. Yun ang diferensya dyan. Binabayaran natin yung diferensya.
Thank you, Let Narciso.
Tulong yan para sa ating magsasaka. So, hindi pork barrel yan. So, mahigit 2 million farmers kung natatandaan ko.
Thank you, ES. Thank you, Let Narciso of DCRH. Sam Mendinilla. Yes.
Good afternoon po. I-clarify ko lang po. Bali yung pag-veto po dun sa 92.5 billion, walang expected na magiging may stall na government program dahil dun sa na-veto na yung amount.
Wala naman. Wala ako nakikita dahil unang-una, sa tingin ko, walang excess revenue na ganun kalaki. Kaya kahit na ilista pa natin yan sa UA, palagay ko sapat na yung makokolekta lang natin para sa program at walang masyadong excess revenue. Kaya hindi na kailangan yan sa unprogrammed funds.
Clarify ko lang rin po. Na-explain po ba ng Congress ng BICAM bakit nila in-include yung 92.5 billion dun sa GAA?
Hindi naman na-explain, pero kung hindi ako nagkakamali, marami dyan kasama talaga sa NEP nung una pa lang. But then we know na ako naman galing sa Department of Finance, alam ko naman yung takbo ng revenue ng ating pamahalaan, kaya't alam natin na for next year, hindi tayo makakakolekta ng napakalaking excess revenue. Dahil mataas na yung mga target ng revenue ng Department of Finance sa tax revenue at non-tax revenue.
Last na lang for my part. How will you compare yung 2026 budget dun sa 2025 budget?
Mas maayos ang 2025 budget at sisiguraduhin natin na 2026 budget, sisiguraduhin natin na meron ding conditional release kung titignan natin yung nabanggit ng Pangulo kanina. So may mga budget na tinaasan, pag-aaralan natin yan kasama ang DBM bago natin i-release yan. So remember, when you pass a budget, and in this case, the budget is roughly 6.8 trillion, or to be exact, 6.793 trillion. Hindi naman ibig sabihin January 1, nandiyan na yung perang yan. So ikokolektahin pa natin yung revenue na yan. At yung deficit, yung kulang na roughly 1,650 billion, more or less, ay uutangin pa yan. No? So having said that, meron tayong cash flow na susundan at doon natin titignan ang lahat ng i-release natin, siguraduhin natin ano yung most efficient or highest multiplier effect, what will increase productivity among Filipinos, anong makakapagbigay ng trabaho, makakapagtaas ng income ng ating mga kababayan, yan ang mga i-release natin. Kasama na dyan, syempre, sa edukasyon, kalusugan, agrikultura na napakahalaga.
Thank you po.
Okay, Alexis Romero, Philippine Star.
Related po dun sa naunang tanong. Kasi nung SONA po nabanggit ni Presidente na he would rather have a reenacted budget rather than one that is not in line with his policy priorities. At yun yung naging issue po ng 2025 budget. Yung budget po ngayon, given na may vetoed items, can we say that this reflects or this is more consistent with the policy priorities of the admin compared to the previous one?
Yes, that is correct.
So hindi siya mangled na yung tipong unlike yung before na maraming changes sa budget proposals sa NEP.
Like I said, kung meron man amendment at meron ngang amendment, natural lang, dahil trabaho ng Kongreso yun, ang trabaho ng Executive is to implement or to execute the budget. So titignan din natin lahat ng increases na proposed amendment at susuriin natin na mabuti kung dapat ba to ay may release o di kaya wag i-release.
Isa na lang po.
In addition, just to what was vetoed is the unprogrammed appropriations, is not from the program appropriations. So, hindi siya maatala yung ating mga programa na inaprubahan ng Presidente.
For the record na lang po, yung DPWH budget dun sa final budget law versus po sa NEP, ilan po yung na-trim dun sa allocation po ng public works?
Kung hindi ako nagkakamali, ang NEP was 850 billion, roughly. Eh, di ba? More or less, no?
The budget NEPS is 881 billion, and our GAA enrolled, or the GAA is at 530 billion, so a difference of 351 billion.
Salamat po.
Thank you. Kat Domingo, ABS-CBN.
Hi, sir. Sir, I understand that you will be publishing the GAA soon, but one contentious issue in every budget is the President's confidential funds. How much is the President's confidential funds under the 2026 GAA? And how much is the difference, whether higher or lower, compared to the previous confidential funds?
Okay. So let me just get the exact data. Sorry. Okay. For confidential intelligence fund, okay, there's a for 2026, there's a total of 11.8 billion based on the GAA, okay, and 2026, so it increased or decreased from the 12.120 billion that is coming from the 2025. So bumaba actually by around 302.2 million pesos yung contingent, rather confidential intelligence fund.
Sir,
It's for the total.
Sir, despite the 302.2 decrease, 11.8 billion is still a huge amount that will not be liquidated as thoroughly as regular line item budgets. How does the palace reconcile that kind of seeming irony when the president promised a more transparent, a budget that will be more judiciously spent?
Okay. Well, we just have to follow what is in the joint circular with the DBM and COA, so we have to follow those rules and regulations. That is the basically that we follow in terms of the accountability or accounting of the confidential fund and intelligence fund. And also, per our general provision, we need to report that to House of Representatives and Senate at the same time from the Office of the President. So it will be monitored accordingly. Okay.
Yung 11 billion na nabanggit, hindi lahat yan Office of the President.
Yeah.
It's a total, sir.
Thank you.
Total.
Thank you, Sec.
Okay. Sir, for the OP alone,
Okay,
how
okay.
much?
Okay, for the OP alone, the same level as in 2025, that is around 4.5 billion pesos.
Sir, same question. Bakit po hindi significantly binabaan when the public is clamoring, has been questioning the spending of the confidential funds, has been clamoring for a more transparent budget? Bakit po hindi significantly tinapyasan? Go, sir.
Yeah. I think it is transparent in the sense that the OP reports directly to the Senate President and to the Speaker of the House. So the OP submits reports to the House of Representatives and to the Senate President.
Sir, last na talaga
And to
from
COA.
Yes, sir. Sir, last from my end, for the Executive Secretary, as a former lawmaker, what do you make out of the so-called safeguard on the prohibition on politicians in the distribution? Because a lot of people feel that it is somehow a form of tokenism, because even if they are not present in the distribution, they can still give out guarantee letters. People still can line up in their offices because that is not qualified as a distribution per se.
I'll put it this way. It's the first time that we have such a provision in the General Appropriations Act. So subukan natin muna.
Okay. Chloe Fana.
Kay Sec RC po, follow-up lang po dun sa growth kanina. What led to the downward revision po for 2026 and 2027, and how will it impact fiscal deficit ceiling for those years?
The reason for the scaling down of the growth. Well, it's arose from the realities that we saw and we have been seeing both globally and domestically. As you have seen in the various reports of IMF, World Bank, ADB, while the global climate, economic climate has improved a bit in the second half of the year, we haven't really gone back to the kind of growth expected before April of last year. No? So in other words, there's still that uncertainty faced globally, and that is impacting on us as well. We are an open economy to begin with. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, the developments last year are likely to still to be felt this year, although in a diminishing effect. So we expect growth perhaps in the first quarter to be, or at least in the first half to be still quite not as rosy as we would want it to be. But I think that with the governance, the improvements in the systems that we are putting in place, as reflected in the budget and in the various offices, we expect to see faster growth toward the second half and the succeeding years. Also, I think that as I mentioned earlier, what makes I think this year and next and hopefully even further down is that we are realizing what we want to happen, and that is a growth that is not just fast, but it's more inclusive. I think the focus on health, education, social protection, job creation, that will tremendously improve inclusivity. And if you can improve inclusivity, we can have faster poverty reduction even without substantially raising growth. Because our history is that we have fast growth in some years, but that was not associated with fast poverty reduction because they were it's exclusive growth. It was only benefiting a small section of our population. I think the budget that we have passed, and we hope that this kind of budget will continue in future budgets, reflects that desire to have a inclusivity as part of our lens when we look at economic development.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jerome Morales, Bloomberg News.
Good morning to our secretaries. Related to growth, we understand the numbers are coming in, but what was the likely 2025 GDP growth versus our target before? And also to our econ managers, what impact do you see what happened in Venezuela? How are we safeguarding our economy from potential impact of this recent global uncertainty? Thank you.
Growth. The emerging growth scenario for 2025 is something like 4.8 to 5%. But if you achieve 5% for the entire year, because the first 3 quarters average is already 5, no? That still puts the economy into one of the fastest growing economies in Asia. In ASEAN, that will put us next to Vietnam, you know, with Indonesia close by. With respect to the impact of the Venezuela, there is hardly nothing. I don't think that there's going to be perceptible effects on us. Unless that will have some, duplications elsewhere, if it's emboldened some other governments to do similar things, then of course that will have the indirect effects on us. But as it is, our link directly or indirectly with the Venezuelan economy is not strong.
Thank you. Alexis Romero?
I-follow up ko lang kay Secretary Toledo regarding the more than 300 billion reduction po from NEP. May we just know the reason behind the reduction sa public works po? And then saan po na-allocate yung mga funds na tinanggal doon sa DPWH?
Okay. So the very source of that, when they have their meeting with the Committee on Appropriations, I think that was also offered as the reduction from the DPWH, okay, and then adjustment coming from what they call the prices ng kanilang mga materials. So those are the sources, or dun siya nanggagaling yung reduction as far as the DPWH budget is concerned.
And it was channeled to what funds?
Well,
Allocation.
if you'll notice, there are some increases in the different departments and agencies. So we cannot exactly say ito ay napunta dito sa ahensyang ito. But you can see in terms of the increases of the different departments and agencies. Basically, doon sa ating mga priority na ahensya like education, agriculture, health, and even from the social services sector.
Salamat po.
Last question will be from Ivan Mayrina.
So just to add to that, so the biggest one is the flood control, na 250. Na yun yung minove from DPWH to DepEd, to DOH, to DA, to DSWD, plus the material savings.
Nabanggit po ni Secretary Recto, uutang pa ho tayo ng 1.6 trillion, if I got that correctly,
More or
sir?
less in 2026, yes.
What does that mean in terms of our debt to GDP situation and our targets?
Yeah, it is within the fiscal framework plan. The deficit for 2026 will roughly be 5.3%. Next year, that will go down to 4.8%. And in the following year, that will go down to 4.3%. So basta steady yung pagbaba ng deficit natin, your debt to GDP will also go down. So for this year, well, more or less, nung umupo si President Marcos in 2022, the debt to GDP was about 62%. Today, we're at 61%.
Thank you very much. And that concludes our press briefing. Thank you very much, E.S. Ralph Recto, Secretary Rolando Toledo, Secretary Frederick Go, and Secretary Arsenio Balisacan. Sa mga susunod na araw ay tatalakayin din natin at tututukan natin ang mga nilalaman ng GAA kasama ang pamunuan ng iba't ibang ahensya. At dito na po rin tatapos ang ating press briefing. Magandang araw para sa bagong Pilipinas.